We've got a good panel program to close out today with some information about meaningful alumni participation pathways. I am going to introduce Vanessa and Lexie, who are two colleagues. Vanessa is the Director of Alumni Engagement at the Indiana University College of Arts and Sciences. She's going to kick us off with a session demonstrating how they've implemented the integrated advancement model that Chris introduced to us earlier on today. And then that's going to be followed up with Lexie from the University of Utah, Quinney College of Law. So Vanessa, I'll turn it over to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Jayme. I really appreciate the opportunity. And thank you again for joining us. I know it's been a long day and I truly appreciate your time. So let's go ahead and jump in. So I'm here to talk about today how we're implementing our interpretation of the ABCD plus approach that Chris Marshall discussed in an earlier session today. This model was introduced to our team at a conference hosted by our Alumni Association last fall. Although we have been working to develop synergies across our advancement team, we have faced challenges in identifying a clear, unified path forward. A common issue for those of us in functional roles, including communications, engagement, and donor relations, is demonstrating the direct impact of our work on the donor pipeline. This strategy, however, has provided clarity and direction in allowing us to align our efforts more effectively. What we've come to understand is that engagement needs to be intentional, beginning with a clear end goal in mind, which, for all of us, I recognize is advancing philanthropy. Effective engagement means asking who are our highest value audiences. What you see on your screen is our initial version of this approach, and I did want to reiterate a statement that Chris made earlier today. This is for our own edification, and it is used for in-house purposes only. Note we did select to focus on cumulative and lifetime giving. Our raw data is in Excel. It's not in a Tableau report or another database that is managed by the foundation. So we have the ability to sort in real-time outright giving versus planned gifts. Also, we've redefined the D category to identify a distinct group we now refer to as our college citizens. These are individuals who are deeply engaged. By applying this classification across all segments, we've gained clear insights into how different categories of constituents interact with us, and we aim to strategically grow and nurture this audience in the future. So how did we get here? First, we sought buy-in from our entire team and outlined a clear approach for developing a version of this model that will ensure alignment with upcoming campaign priorities. In the process, we acknowledge the limitations of our data. And for us, this includes, but is not limited to, valid personal data on our constituents. So for example, we only have 40% of alumni emails on file, and unfortunately, current professional statistics are even lower. The inability to capture comprehensive communication metrics like open and click-through rates, and then event participation, volunteerism, and other forms of engagement are not always captured or easily reportable by our systems, unlike donations. Despite these gaps, we utilize the available data, combining a comprehensive alumni and non-alumni donor research list with engagement statistics to develop the insights needed for this approach. To maximize internal resources, we enlisted our summer intern to organize and analyze the data. So we're just at the beginning stages here. And so these are a few ways we are implementing this approach. So I did want to point out that audience segmentation is something we have engaged in for a very long time, but this has given us a new way of thinking about our segmentations as well. So I also wanted to point out a couple of immediate impacts that we have seen. Initially, each of the functional areas of our office, so again, communications, engagement, and donor relations, was tasked with generating gift leads for fiscal year 25. This project allowed us to significantly exceed expectations with approximately 200 leads identified to date. Additionally, I did want to clarify that DXO stands for Digital Engagement Officer, which is a position through the IU Foundation. I can liken it to an individual giving officer. Similar to CLE events, we host lifelong learning programming, mainly online, for our alumni and friends here in the college. I always share a prospected list with our team, our dean, and campus colleagues before each event. I plan to include a column that references the ABCD plus categories to help colleagues quickly identify and understand the audience makeup. We are not only thinking about how to cultivate and steward our college citizens is kind of what I've outlined here in terms of key programming and volunteer opportunities, but we're also using this information to help with donor retention efforts as well. While we're still in the learning phase and haven't set formal goals or metrics around this approach yet, we aim to refine the strategy over time and clarify measurable outcomes in the coming years. However, the model is helping us envision our future. So there was a couple of things I wanted to point out here. So the strategic alumni journey, there is a function within Salesforce that creates these journey pathways for engagers with the Salesforce platform. We started testing a journey with our young alumni population before adopting this approach. The initial purpose was to analyze the way they were engaging with their content so we could adjust methodology based on their behavior moving forward. Because of this model, we're now reconsidering the target audiences for this effort, given what we're learning. Additionally, the engagement touch points, I wanted to give you an example from earlier today, actually, about how we're leveraging this. We recently developed an impact report that is talking about the role of philanthropy in our school. It was sent to the A, Bs, and a portion of the C segments that was outlined earlier. What we discussed earlier today is the digital format of this is what is the type of language we want to use when sending this content to the remaining Cs and the C minuses. How do we want to articulate the impact to our D pluses and helping them think about the possibility of moving into that C category? So it's really helping us to think strategically and understand who those audiences are. Not only today, but in the future, so we can refine that. The other thing that I wanted to point out as well is capturing that right data. So one of the challenges that we face really in this strategy is a lack of understanding relating to click-throughs and open rates. And so as we refine our path forward, building partnerships and support so we can collect that data moving forward and integrating that into our plan, hopefully will illuminate broader information about this effort. Now, I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge resource limitations. I recognize that we're all being asked to do more with less. And so how do we balance ambition with pragmatism? So one of the easy ways that we are finding that this approach is working for us is passing along either leads to the DXOs or updating our gift team about prospect behavior. So is someone in the A category asking a question during an event? Are they sending us an email following the receipt of a communication, etc.? I'm also sending personal thank yous to the college citizen group following events. Additionally, we're trying to serve as an inspiration hub for our faculty and staff partners by using this information to help inspire best practices by them. So we're really excited about the implementation and really look forward to hearing your questions about how we're utilizing this approach. So with that, I would like to thank you again for your time and attention, and I'll hand it over to Lexie.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here speaking to a really great group of us in AALS. We thought for this panel, it would be nice if the panelists shared a bit about how our development alumni relationships are kind of put together. And that way we can, talk about the various ways that our teams are configured, how we measure impact, and how we measure our own efficacy. So I'll tell you a little bit about me and my team. My name is Lexie Kite. I'm at the S.J. Quinney College of Law at the University of Utah. I have been here for almost 2 years, but prior to that, I, like Vanessa, was in a College of Arts and Social Sciences. I was in the College of Humanities here at the University of Utah for 15 years doing development while I was doing my master's and PhD. Kind of fell into it backwards. I have found since being at the College of Law that it is much easier to build community at the College of Law because it is already built in. This is a group of alums who know each other, who took the same classes together, who know their professors, know the name of their dean. They have this shared language, they take the same tests. So that sense of community is already built in for law schools. I think that is so incredibly valuable. I've also found that from a fundraising perspective, it makes making an ask a little bit more natural when you can demonstrate the vast resources it takes to be able to go to law school. They all had to pay their tuition or received scholarships and might feel like they want to pay it forward. They understand the costs associated with really integrating yourself into the law school. So I'm very happy to be at the College of Law. Let me tell you about my team. So I'm the Senior Director of Development and Alumni Relations. So I take a very integrated advancement approach to everything related to alumni relations, related to our work with marketing and communication, all the events we do, because for me, my bottom line is always going to be the fundraising efforts. It's going to be the money we bring in because that's how I am evaluated. I have a dual report role where I am reporting to the institutional advancement team, and I'm also reporting to my dean. So I have two groups and constituencies that I need to make happy, but I'm housed in the College of Law. That's where my office and my team's office is. So I oversee a team of 4. Our team has changed rapidly in even just the last few months. So we're configured very differently than we were when I got to the College of Law a couple years ago. But right now we have an amazing team of 4. So we have a major gifts officer who will be primarily frontline fundraising, but has also assumed, alumni relations responsibilities throughout. We have a development officer, same frontline fundraiser, and has assumed development responsibilities and stewardship responsibilities, which is so central to everything we do. We have a development specialist who is also handling all the details of all of these things, and a grants manager that helps with a bunch of our OSP grants, Office of Sponsored Projects, and just private and family foundation grants. I told you I take an integrated advancement approach to everything we do because that is how I am evaluated. But I also think that for all of us, we can probably agree that it makes a lot of sense to be able to think about the return on our investment with these alums and our limited budgets we have. And so how do we make sure how we're engaging with our alums, how we're communicating to them, the events we're inviting them to, how do we make sure that we are always demonstrating the impact of donor support? How do we make sure they understand that their peers are giving, and who are their peers that are giving, and what is the impact they're making on the law school? How do we help them to understand that with more giving, with more private donor support, we can do more, and that increases the value of their degree? I think that, we can demonstrate things like being able to rise through the rankings and that it costs actual, dollars to be able to do that. That's helpful. And that obviously we can talk to our alums about how that definitely increases the value of their degree. But in other ways, how do we help them see the ripple effects of even small gifts on the law school and beyond, on the legal field more broadly, on our communities? So I wanted to talk about a few ways that we, from an alumni relations perspective, are trying to integrate advancement into what we're doing. to help people see that philanthropy is so important while we're trying to engage with them. So I thought I would take just a couple of minutes to talk about a few highlights for us in terms of alumni relations. And after that, I believe we have one more panelist, and then we'll do a Q&A where we can all just discuss what works, what doesn't work. We'd love to hear from you guys in the chat about this and just be able to talk a little bit about, how to kind of navigate the sometimes complex world of alumni relations and development and how they work together. So a few things we've been doing since I got to the College of Law, we've had a Utah Law Alumni Awards, a variation of it for a long time. We treat it as our reunion. It's in the spring every year in April. It's a chance for people to come back and connect and all of that. But when I got to the college a couple years ago, I decided it might make more sense to kind of like beef up the event and do what we can to make this our signature event, bringing our alumni back. And how could we do a better job of getting them here and funding it all? Because it is an extremely expensive event. So we did a couple of things. For the awards, we have now, the last 2 years, we have now been doing sponsorships for the event. And this is with law firms and other law organizations like the courts or, legal aid type of things. So we have been able to raise upwards a little more than $30,000 per year in sponsorships for the event, which allows us to sponsor our graduating 3Ls to come to the event. And so the way that our alumni awards are structured, it's in our College of Law building. And we start out in the moot court auditorium with like a glitzy awards show. And, our dean is wearing sequins, and we have 6 alumni awards that are like our most prestigious awards for the year. And we have also included the graduating 3Ls to give out their student awards, their most, prestigious awards at that event. Then afterward, we move out to the patio and we do a champagne toast where the Young Alumni Association president welcomes the graduating class of 3Ls as the newest group of alums. And we get to celebrate them as joining, this community. The sponsorships we have done have allowed us to get more firms, 16 firms this last year, into the building, mingling with our students and their peers. That brings our alums in because the firms are prioritizing getting their Utah Law alumni back to us. It's been really successful, and it's been a great way to just build that sense of community, raise some money along with it through table sponsorships, and identifying the impact of people's giving through, some of the people that receive our awards are some of our big donors that are making a huge impact. And so it's a cool opportunity to be able to integrate advancement into the alumni relations work we're doing. Another way that we have recently started doing this is through the development of our Utah Law Golden Gavel Society. My major gift, or my development officer, Violet Ma, this was her creation. So last year was the first year of establishing this Golden Gavel Society. It is for all alums who graduated more than 50 years ago from the College of Law. And we had a live event that was right before the Utah Law Alumni Awards. So if people were coming in for the awards, they were also here for the Golden Gavel event. And it was an in-person event for people to get together that hadn't seen each other in many, many years. We had a couple of keynote speakers, and then we had an open mic that allowed people to just share their memories of law school, the impact of their education on their careers, and what they've been up to since. We had a 103-year-old man show up, our oldest alum, graduated in the 40s. He sang a song to us. He had everybody sing along with him. It was so fun. It was such a great way to build community among an audience that are also our donors. If we're being honest, those are our major gift donors. Those are our principal gift donors. Those are, people that we really want to engage with in a meaningful way. And that was the golden age of going to school, where they knew each other and loved each other and want to be in touch, even more so than recent graduating classes. So the Golden Gavel Society, they were inducted into the society with a certificate. They did a grip and grin handshake with the dean on their way in. They received these little golden gavel pins. Other perks involved in it are that we're doing a live event every spring, along with the Alumni Awards. We have our Golden Gavel event. And then every fall, we're doing a virtual event. So even more people can attend that couldn't, fly in or couldn't travel for the event. That will be similar, a State of the Union address from the dean. We will do some highlights of what their peers have been up to, a keynote speaker, and open mic on Zoom that we're still trying to, navigate as the conference, the people hosting this conference have had to do as well. I don't envy you. We'll be doing that this fall. Along with that, the last few years have not been printing our alumni magazine. It's been just digital. And we decided that a perk for the Golden Gavel Society would be a printed copy of like a yearly roundup of the alumni magazine that features stories from from their generation, from Golden Gavel Society members, as well as some other stories. So they get a printed copy of that. They get invited to other things, but we just wanted some perks that I'm sure many of you are doing something similar. But we found this to be a really nice way to engage with this group of alums that they want to be involved with the school. They are honored to receive an email to, meet with the dean and the development director. It's a really wonderful group. So that has been a fun thing we are doing lately and constantly conceiving of new ideas for. We also, like many of you, we get on the road. Our dean, she wants to be out and about, and we are traveling, and she is traveling. So we do these SJQ on the road events across the US. We did more than 10 last year in every key city where we have a good group of alums. Those have been really fun. Some of them are co-hosted by board members that are in DC or New York or LA, wherever we might be. That's been a great way just to engage with people. We give them a fast facts flyer of what's going on in the college so they can see how much is tuition these days? How much are we awarding in scholarships? Who is the dean? They don't always know. Kind of some highlights and infographics that just keep them apprised of what's going on at the college. Beyond that, we also partner with our communications and marketing team to make sure that we are featuring the stories of our donors, of amazing students who have been impacted by scholarships. We want to demonstrate the impact of what giving does for the school. So in every way, when we're meeting at least monthly with the marketing and communication team, we're thinking about how to integrate these advancement ideas into everything we're doing and what we're posting on social media, the events that we're planning. I believe everybody is working on that in some way, whether you're just an alumni relations director or beyond. But I hope that gives you a little sense of what we're doing at the University of Utah. And I'd love to hear your questions and engage with everybody on what works and what doesn't.
Thank you, Lexie. And yes, we did have a third panelist for today, but due to a personal issue, she is not able to join us. So I'll go ahead and have Vanessa come back on with her camera, and Heather's going to join us as well. We're going to treat this as kind of an open forum conversation-like opportunity now to address questions with you all. As Heather just posted into the chat, please do let us know what questions you have for the panelists today. We've got a couple to get us kickstarted. Vanessa, we'll start with you because I think there's a good question about how you developed your ABCD list. Someone asked, is it generated automatically by some program or software? I think you mentioned at some point you have an Excel document with all kinds of data in it that you can manipulate it any which way you want to. And I think Chris didn't really cover this. Can you talk a little bit about how you generated that list?
Yeah, so we have a monthly alumni and non-alumni donor report we receive from our foundation each month for research purposes, etc. And so really what we did is we divided that list and categorized it based on what we agreed as a team were our values and our priorities. In addition to that, our Alumni Association has been tracking engagement data. And so we were able to download that information separately and pull together a VLOOKUP, which is an Excel formula, and cross-match that against all of the categories. And so that's how we define the college citizens and the other buckets that were non-donors, because that was one of the challenges is how do you identify someone who is engaged but is not giving? And so it took a little time, but it wasn't anything unmanageable. And again, we leveraged our summer intern. And so Bailey did a great job in helping us pull that information together.
Yeah, having that additional hand, I'm sure was helpful. I
Yeah.
like the fact that this college citizen title that you've created. I really like that because I've found myself wondering in all of these conversations that I've had about integrated advancement over the last year here at Indiana University about what do we do with our younger alumni that have such high debt loads they can't give at a level like we might classify in that A, B, or C category. And we can still classify them in this engaged citizen category that you guys have created.
Yep, absolutely. And thinking about, okay, how do we create a consistent experience so then that way, when their journey allows them to start thinking about and considering their philanthropic priorities, hopefully, we'll be at, in that top 3.
Yeah, that's great. Lexie, I don't think I'm speaking alone here. My heart skipped a couple beats when you said you gave alumni an open mic, especially
Yeah.
alumni from older generations.
Yeah.
I've been burnt quite a few times with my School of Medicine alumni when I used to work over in that venue of them getting up and a half an hour later, they're finally done.
Totally. Hmm.
We did have a question for you about your events that you talked about, Lexie. Let me see if I can find it here. You talked about having a good group of alums. They're wondering if you can define what you meant by good.
Hmm.
And then they're also wondering, because you talked about doing so many national events, and I think those are important. People are asking about what you do to ensure success and attendance at those programs, because I think a lot of us have experienced events where we have people register and just don't show up,
I know,
which can
50%.
be incredibly frustrating. Yes, and that's isn't it amazing how that tends to be the percentage on almost all of our
Yes.
events? Yeah. Can you maybe address those 2 points?
Yeah, I can address all of it. First of all,
Okay.
open mic, super scary. It was
Yeah,
a risk.
yeah.
And you know what? It worked. It turns out that in person, I gently but forcefully, before the open mic, said, we have so many of you who want to share your memories. We're going to limit everybody's memories to 2 minutes so we can make sure to hear from all of you. We also had our alumni awards beginning after this event, and we had to run and we had to pull the dean. So it was very helpful to let them know that they had 2 minutes and they stuck to it. It worked out really well. What I'm nervous about is the Zoom open mic, which will happen on October 23rd. What we'll do is have everybody auto muted, and then they'll have to like raise their hands and we'll have to show them how to do that, through the Zoom. Yeah, we'll see.
So the mute button on Zoom is kind of like the hook on stage.
Yeah,
Mute
it is.
them and gently pull them off.
Oh, in the kindest possible way. But yes, yeah, we'll see. Wish us luck. We're
luck.
always, I think it all depends on your dean, but we have a dean who is really into throwing out ideas and seeing what works, and then evaluating, like, are we on to the next thing? Do we need to do something differently? And that's so helpful for me. Not all deans and leaders are like that. And so we are able to try a lot of stuff out. And that brings me to the next question of traveling and doing events, which, my bottom line is fundraising, but I'm also then charged with planning and hosting events in 10 cities across the US, which was wildly expensive. So we tried this a few different ways. In some places, we would have a firm host us. The firm would thankfully pay for light appetizers and some drinks. A good group of alums, I'd say if we get 10 alums in LA, DC, New York, San Francisco, Boise, Vegas, we're doing good. We got 10 at all of them. No, not Boise. We're going to go back to every couple of years. It wasn't a solid group of alums. And the legwork, it's a heavy lift. I was personally emailing a ton of people in every place, just trying to lay the groundwork for where should we be coming back? Where are the groups of alums most engaged? So after this blitz of at least 10 events across the country, I spoke with our dean about letting that be kind of the test for whether we go back every year or if it's an every couple years thing, if it's a thing where we're keeping in touch with people via email, or when admissions is out there or career development is traveling, we can, tag a couple of our most engaged alums there. So for, Boise, it wasn't super successful. We were begging people to attend. There just weren't that many people there. They live 50 miles away. That's one thing. I think we can all understand that. But I didn't count it as a failure. I count it as a way to qualify a bunch of alums as either excited to be engaged, willing to be engaged, or, off the map completely. It is also, the legwork involved in just finding new emails for people that are leaving their firms constantly. It is massive.
Yeah.
And you don't want the development director to be doing that work. And I was, So now that I have a bigger team that can help do that legwork, I think that will be helpful. I know so many of us are looking for emails. We're messaging people on
I've
LinkedIn.
recently paid for the upgraded subscription to LinkedIn so I can do more in-mails every month to people.
Oh, and do you find that is useful? Is that
Yeah.
a good investment?
I think most people respond to my in-mail requests. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to
When
do
they're
that.
on there. The problem is a lot of our older generations aren't on LinkedIn, or they don't have a profile picture. If they don't have a profile picture, I'm probably not going to hear back from them.
Yes.
But I have found that LinkedIn is helpful. When you go to some of these places, are you using alumni firms to host you? What are you looking at for venues?
Yes. So we've had a broad range. We've done Mayor Brown in New York, Ballard Spar in DC. We've done a bit of that where it even feels a little uncomfortable to ask the firm to pay for catering. And so when it comes up naturally, when they're like, when we have a board member who is there, of
Yeah.
course, they'll pay. Other times we have had to pay, $1,500 for light appetizers and drinks. And it feels maybe a little too expensive. The ROI might not be there, but it was worth a shot. It really depends on your dean and your budget and what, can be allowed. In other places, when we were in DC in May, we, just rented a part of a bar and just had everybody in, and we had some, buffet appetizers and drinks on tab. And that was fun. It was more casual. So it depends on your alumni group there. I will often do an alumni event, but then reach out to top prospects for individual visits. Of course, they're still invited to the event, but like all of us, I think we're doing the one-on-one visits with the, higher level prospects.
Yeah.
And then it's a more casual environment because it's our younger alums. It's people that really want to network and, don't want one-on-one time with the dean as much. So we've across the board done all sorts of events. Firms have been very helpful and useful, but I find in major cities, it is hard to vet people to get up to the right floor for, Ballard Spar, who you have to have your ID on you.
Yeah.
And the dean didn't have her ID on her.
Well,
and that really complicated things for us.
Sure did. Vanessa, I want to talk about events with you a little bit in your ABCD program that you're developing. Have you and the team at the College of Arts and Sciences begun to uncover some new opportunities to engage folks across the spectrum of your ABCD program?
Yeah, so we're definitely looking into that and thinking about, so for instance, we recently gained access to the IU auditorium suite. And so we were thinking about, all right, taking a look at the A's and B's, all right, who locally who fit within that category may be good, this could be a good stewardship, this could be a good engagement, or is there someone from that C bucket that this might help elevate them to that B category. So it's thinking strategically around what does that look like and what does that mean? Like I said, we're still very new into this. And so check back in with me in a year and I'm sure that I'll have a full slate of ideas as it relates to programming.
Great.
I'll just jump in and say there's a couple questions in the chat, Jayme.
Yeah.
I copied and pasted them from the Q&A if you'd like to ask our great panelists.
Yeah, so this is a good one. Lexie, you talked a little bit about your alumni awards process, and it looks like some of our group wants to know more about that. How are your recipients chosen for your awards? Was the awards ceremony that you spoke about, was that a new idea or a refresh of an existing idea? Talk a little bit maybe about how you've reframed that. So yeah, I'll throw it to you.
Yeah. And I'd be curious about, just in the chat, if people also want to share Are you doing a full alumni reunion weekend? Are you doing a similar alumni awards event? Are they in conjunction with each other? I think we'd all be curious to know how that's working out. I know for us, the award winners are chosen. We have nomination forms on our website that we push out via email in the fall. So right now, those are being pushed out for our Young Alumni Awards and our Distinguished Alumni Awards. We'll gather those nominations, but we also internally have some ideas of people that we would like to receive awards. And so I will put all of those together with their bios and present them to the executive committee of our alumni board for vote. And we don't bring it to the rest of the board. It's basically it's at the discretion of the dean, but she would like to have some buy-in from the chair-elect and the vice chair and the chair. So that's how we've done the awards. They have been very well received, I think. We end up getting the people that I want to see, receiving the awards. I think that we're all kind of in agreement on who it ends up being. So that's helpful. The event itself is kind of a refresh of an event that was super stale and had very few people attending before a couple years ago. And so we wanted to just do something new and different. And so the first year, the new and different was table sponsors, getting a lot more people in the room. We were still doing a seated dinner, but instead of doing our award winners getting up and having to, speak on the mic, we pre-recorded their acceptance speeches so that we could control for time. That was very helpful. The problem was we filled the room to capacity, beyond capacity, and that's a good problem to have. But we rolled one more table in there and it was one table too many. So the next year we decided maybe we want to mix it up a little bit more, and we don't want to do a seated dinner where sponsors only get to meet like the 4 students that we put at their table. And instead, we do this kind of glitzy awards show that's 45 minutes long in the moot court room, in the auditorium. And then we move throughout the building for food stations all throughout the building for karaoke on the bottom floor, stuff like that. So people like it.
Yeah, and it's a different take on it. That's an interesting idea. There was a couple responses in here to your question about how they're handling it. A lot of homecoming, family weekend, dual degree folks. Wake Forest, Arkansas does theirs along with a reunion. Yeah, so
Minnesota does a full alumni week. Yeah.
Here at McKinney, we have instituted a donor recognition dinner. Last year was our first year doing that. We're actually adding the awards component to it this year as well. So we're going to have an opportunity for donors to meet scholarship recipients, as well as the association to recognize award recipients. So that's a different take on the program here. We've got about maybe 5 minutes left in the program today. There was one other question in here about faculty. Let me see if I can find it. Lots of good stuff in here since we've asked the question. Yeah, here we go. And maybe this is a question for both of you, Lexie and Vanessa, about how you engage faculty in meaningful development engagement opportunities. Some examples: speaking in class, lunch and learn sessions. And have you had any pushback from faculty? So let's we'll toss it to both of you to see what you might have to say about faculty engagement.
Vanessa, how are you working with faculty?
Yeah, so we work very closely with our faculty, and actually we've been incredibly fortunate. Our dean was a faculty member for 29 years before he stepped into his current role. And so he really understands the structure, has developed relationships. And so they play a critical component in the work that we do. We don't host Spirit, Pride, and Tradition events. We really lean into lifelong learning and opportunities there. There was a culture about 10 years ago and prior that would push back. We are now seeing energy and excitement anytime we're meeting with departments and programs and our faculty. What can we do? How can we increase our alumni information? We hosted an event with an incredible faculty member. The donors that fund his center were on the online, and he personally thanked them. The dean personally thanked them. It was just such an incredible opportunity. And so any way that you can tap into that is a win-win as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, you sound like the pro at that. I'm admittedly not the pro at engaging faculty in what we're doing. Some of it depends on how engaged the faculty want to be, but I think others, the 100+ others on this call, would probably have better ideas than I do for how to really engage with faculty and alums.
And I'll just add, sometimes it happens in reverse where you find out after the fact, right? That
Yes.
this person has been invited to that class and you're like, wait, I would have had some things that I could have,
Yes.
given them, or a thank you note, or, whatever the case may be. So do you have any strategies in that regard where you ask faculty to report in what they've done?
So we're creating an advancement hub that faculty and staff can use to report and then also receive, like you said, some swag, or having a conversation about, is there an opportunity for us to host them to lunch, etc. I think that there's all kinds of opportunities. This is definitely an issue that we really struggle with. We've identified some key departments that we're working closely with to help strategize the application of it long term. And so, yes, that is an incredible area of frustration for me personally. But how do we build champions? How do we build communities with trust? So I think that's, for me, what I've learned works best.
One of the keys that
And
we
that-
have here, I'm sorry, Heather, one of the keys we have here at Indiana University in that department of one, right? We don't have smaller departments like the college might have, but when a faculty member hosts an alumnus in their classroom, the alumnus needs to park somewhere. So they have to email into the dean's office to get the parking code for the alumnus. And we've arranged to have the administrative assistant in that office now report back to us in alumni relations when a faculty member hosts an alumnus or a guest, because we're tracking volunteerism. We will track that. Last year, we know here at the McKinney School of Law, just from the numbers reported to us, we had over 400 volunteers contribute over 1,500 hours of service, whether that be in the classroom, in a panel in front of the Black Student Law Association, or a judge or a brief grader for moot court, for example. So we've been able to really begin capturing what I called the baseline last year. We'll hopefully be able to add on to that this year and in future years.
Wow.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I've seen it as simple as, a Google form of who's coming to class, or, a monthly email that goes out that's scheduled that says, just let us know who you're inviting so that we could thank them, something of that regard.
All right, well, we are just shy of 4:45, so I want to thank Vanessa and thank Lexie for your knowledge and expertise today. I want to thank Heather for serving as co-chair for this whole thing, along with me. Hopefully, we've all benefited today from the content that was shared with us during the virtual conference. Meredith, I see your comment in the chat about commencement, and I will just throw out there that I chair our commencement here at the McKinney School of Law, and I'd be happy to chat with you about what we do here. So feel free to reach out to me, and we can have a chit chat about what we do there. I think at this point, Heather, I'll turn it over to you for final comments about next steps.
Great. Yeah. Thank you so much for the many, many people who have been with us here today. And hopefully you feel like you are not alone and you found some inspiration and some folks out there that you can reach out to with your questions or ideas. We have a very dynamic section and a lot of great people out there who want to help you. So I just want to give a plug for our section survey that Marianne also put in the chart that's come out. It takes just a few minutes. Please add your feedback and just make sure that your school is included in the aggregate data that we'll be putting together. And of course, we hope to see as many of you as can attend in January. We have some great presentations and a little sightseeing too, a little trip to Sausalito. I'm particularly excited about the Deans and Development Officers panel. So we're going to have teams of deans and their development officers talk about their relationship and how they schedule their time and how they operate. That's such an important relationship. And of course, we'd love for you to get involved in the section. There's always something that needs to get done. And our newsletter that was just put out has all of our contact information. And we'd love just to to chat with you. So thank you again all for being here, and I hope you have a great afternoon and a great October, which is generally very, very busy with events and homecomings and all that sort of thing. So thank you and have a great evening.